Hey everyone. I don't know about you, but during this pandemic, I found myself looking for new hobbies and new distractions to keep myself busy on the weekends, or simply just to find something that's going to drown out the noise of the outside and distract myself from it. I tried to learn piano over the first lockdown. I got back into skating. I read books, worked my way through the whole of Netflix, it seems. I've done virtual games night, some pub quizzes, got back into photography, a bit of gaming. In all honesty, during the first lockdown, it felt as though I'd been given the gift of time, and a lot of people said that. But no way to spend that time because we were locked indoors. The way the world was outside made it too hard just to sit and do nothing, so I had to distract myself from what was going on. Otherwise, how would I cope? And I think for a lot of us, maybe you can relate. I don't know how familiar this sounds to you, but how I responded to lockdown, you might have done in a similar way. Or maybe in this lockdown now, lockdown 3, I think it is, maybe that's how you're responding. At the end of the day, though, I spent my time trying to cope or to pass the time. When it was a perfect time to invest in my relationship with God. The crisis we were in, it gave me all the more reason to want to cry out to God or to spend time with him. Being locked indoors gave me more of a chance to do it. But instead of looking to Jesus, my saviour, I looked for saving and fulfillment in other things. I forgot that simple truth that Jesus tells us in John 4:13-14. He says that he's the living water. Those who drink that water will never be thirsty again. What he's saying is that the spiritual fulfillment and satisfaction is found in him alone. The only drink that will satisfy that thirst is him. When you seek fulfillment in other things, the well will eventually run dry, and after you'll just be left thirsty again. Over that lockdown, I turned to other things to make me feel happy and fulfilled. And in some ways, I almost neglected the only thing that could satisfy me, which was always staring at me in the face. Every time I woke up and look at my bedside table and I see my Bible. When we look at Psalm 24, particularly verse 4, 5 and 6, it says this: "He who has clean hands and a pure heart, who does not lift up his soul to an idol or swear by what is false, he will receive blessing from the Lord and vindication from God his Saviour. Such is the generation of those who seek him, who seek your face, O God of Jacob." When I read this, I thought maybe then I've failed, because the word used in verse 4 is idol, which to me is simply that is something that I've put before God. It's something that's used to try and gain fulfillment that only he can give. So in some ways, Netflix or all the other things I distracted myself with, they'd become my idol. When I wanted to feel less sad about what was going on in the world, it was a distraction. It became a crutch. Maybe with that you can relate. I think everyone, no matter who you are, we've all got our idols in some way. And let's be real, for some people those idols may or may have been alcohol, sex, gambling and the likes. Some of us will say that maybe I don't struggle with those things as much. Some of us will say that maybe once you did and you've got great testimonies, but maybe your idol is something that seems less of a big deal. Maybe your idol's Facebook. Maybe your idol is the TV show that you can't get enough of. Maybe your idol is food or hobby. And some of these things aren't inherently bad. Like, food is a very good thing. But if any of them take the place of God in your life or become more of a priority than your time spent with him, could it be said that they are your idols? So then, if we look back at this verse, we realise and identify with the idol worshippers, where it says, "He who has clean hands and pure heart, who does not lift his soul up to an idol or swear by what is false," they're the ones that receive the blessing. They're the ones, the idol worshippers are the ones that are kind of used as the example of those who don't get the blessing. So does this mean that simply we miss out on the blessings from God and that's that? Thankfully, we know no, that's not the case. That's where God and his grace step in. See, the death and resurrection of Jesus bridged that gap that we so often fall into. And it's the gap that our selfishness and our sin created. We've already messed up and fallen short. But God reaches out and he says, "I'm here. If you choose me, I want to follow. I'm here." So God's patience is so remarkable, particularly with me during that first lockdown. It says I sat and looked for fulfillment in anything other than him. He sat waiting for me to remind me why he's the only one who can satisfy. It's not necessarily bad to enjoy a good TV show. And it's not bad to have a glass of wine in the evening or to open that box of chocolates your friend got you. But I want to encourage you to press into God when you next feel that need to distract yourself from the world. Press into him when you're struggling to cope. I learned over that first lockdown a lesson that some of us may have already learned, that he is the only one that can satisfy. And until you learn that, you'll never truly feel fulfilled. When you realise this, you'll experience the blessings that the verse goes on to talk about. Thanks everyone for listening. I hope you have a really good rest of your week.